This video presentation on the Arab cluster is meant to be supplemental to your reading in Expand Your Borders by Livermore, Reaching the World in Our Own Backyard by Pillai, and Understanding Global Cultures by Gannon. In much of the two-thirds world, and certainly common in Middle Eastern cultures, is the idea of the right hand being the hand of favor and blessing, and the left hand being the hand of disfavor and cursing. A boy who is learning to write Arabic, if he picks up the chalk with his left hand, may be severely beaten by the imam who is teaching him to write in Arabic. There are a number of biblical examples which point to the favor given to the right side over the left side. Benjamin, for example, in Genesis 35, his mother, as she was dying after giving birth to him, wanted to call him son of my suffering, Ben-Oni. Jacob decided that he wanted to call him Binyamin, son of my right hand, or my favored son, my favorite son. Ephraim, who was one of the two sons of Joseph, although he was younger than his brother Manasseh, was blessed by his grandfather, with Jacob reaching his right hand to be put on Ephraim and his left hand to be put on Manasseh. And we find this in Genesis 48. Ehud was a left-handed judge in the book of Judges, and we find out that he was crafty, and that's part of the idea behind being left-handed, is being crafty, or in the Latin the word is sinister. In the judgment of the nations, that when Jesus gives that description of the nations coming before him, and he puts his sheep on his right side and the goats on his left side, and he says to the sheep, "You come, you who are blessed of my Father," and to the goats, "Leave here, those of you who are cursed." These are examples of how the right side is favored and the left side is disfavored. The crescent moon is a common symbol within the Arab cluster to represent Islamic faith. This is tied in with their lunar calendar, which follows the moon rather than a solar calendar following the sun. And months are marked by a new moon. So, for example, in this recording, we are in the second or third day of the month of Ramadan on the Islamic calendar, and each year it gets earlier and earlier and earlier in our solar calendar. Another symbol of this cluster is artistic calligraphy being used with quotations from the Quran, or in the case of this plate here, the name of Allah, but calligraphy of Islamic verses is certainly a major symbol of this cluster. You will note that the Arab alphabet, or the Arabic alphabet, is not only used for the Arabic language, but is used in Iran for the Persian language, also known as Farsi, and in India, the Urdu language. Other symbols of this cluster include the Quran, the holy writings of the Prophet Muhammad, and the mosque, as you see this one pictured here. Now, a true Muslim would say that you need to learn to read the Quran in the original Arabic, but for the purpose of those who want to read it in their first language, this translation of the Quran into English by Abdullah Yusuf Ali is a common one. You will note the call towers that are a part of the mosque, and generally speaking there are loudspeakers, so that the 5 times a day when it is time for Muslims to pray, Arabs and others who practice the Islamic faith will stop what they're doing. They will take out their prayer mats and they will bow down toward Mecca in order to facilitate their prayers. As students will note from other lecture materials in this module, not all Arabs are Muslim, and not all Muslims are Arab. However, this is a good time to introduce the pillars of Islam as we look at the Arab cluster that is heavily influenced by Islam. There is, first of all, the Shahada, the declaration of faith. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger, or Muhammad is his prophet. This is the declaration of faith upon which all Muslims confess their faith. The Salat, which is prayer 5 times a day, bowing down toward Mecca. The Zakat, these are alms for the poor, and generally this is about 2.5% of income that is given to poor Muslims. The Psalm, which is fasting during the month of Ramadan. This is fasting from eating, drinking, or sexual activity during the daylight hours of this lunar month. And then finally, at least once in a Muslim's lifetime, a pilgrimage needs to be made to Mecca in order to complete the Hajj. Now, there are some Islamists who add a sixth one, which is jihad, some who call that a personal internal struggle in order to please Allah. Others say that it is an external struggle against all those who are not of the faith. Pay careful attention to the cultural dimensions listed here and Livermore's explanation of them in Expand Your Borders. You would also do well to read carefully through Pillai's book on reaching the world in our own backyard, because not all Arabs are the same, not all Latinos are the same, not all Anglos are the same. And so be sure that as you look at these characteristics of Arabs being collective with high power distance and moderate uncertainty avoidance, short-term orientation, high context, and a focus on relationships over tasks, being over doing. These things are spelled out in more detail in your reading, so please don't miss out